Everyone, to poppin' often with Lofton. Today, we're gonna be doing a game review for Grand Chase. Now, I don't usually do game reviews, but I really love Grand Chase, so I thought, should I make a review to let you guys know that are sitting at home that don't have access to the beta, are you even missing anything? Is it even worth playing when it comes out? If you guys are interested in more reviews, maybe, and more Grand Chase content in general, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you like this video, and let me know your thoughts below in the comments if you guys think I said anything different or you guys think I should add something to what I said. So Grand Chase Classic isn't really the first Grand Chase. The first Grand Chase came out in 2008 and it shut down in 2015. I'm not gonna get into why it shut down. If you guys wanna figure it out, Google it, or maybe that's just a topic for another video. If you guys wanna see that, let me know. After it shut down, the company didn't necessarily say they're done with it. They just said they're taking a break, if I remember correctly. Fast forward to 2021, and we have Grand Chase Classic. I've played since 2008, and I've played until it shut down. So the comments I'm going to be making for this video isn't necessarily Grand Chase versus Grand Chase Classic. Isn't going to be me being biased. I'm going to try to be as honest as possible. I mean, that's what I always do to you guys anyway. I'm going to try to be as honest as possible when I'm talking about these things. Since I've been playing for a long time, I could see the things that they're trying to upgrade, they're trying to fix, and probably what's expected in the future versus things that they're probably just not going to change in general, and it's just hard ingrained in the game anyway. Also, if you guys want to join the Grand Chase tournament, link in the description below, sign up for that, and there are going to be timestamps below or on this video, so you guys can skip through whatever you want. But if you guys enjoy my beautiful face and my beautiful voice, why not just watch the whole thing? I'm just saying. All right, so let's talk about story. Story in this game has always been some sort of a weird point, because what they would do in the regular Grand Chase, the first one, is they would have a story and then they would add stuff and then they would kind of put it in between the lines of the current story. So it was just always a jumbled mess. They had a good lore, but it never really hit you as good as it should have, because you'd have to look elsewhere online to figure out what even is happening and what's going on. Thankfully, in Grand Chase Classic, they even have some of these stages assembled in a certain way so that when you're doing the story, it's linear and it's a lot easier to tell what's happening from point A to point B. And I think some of the story is even revised. That being said, they know about the fact that the story just wasn't that great. And I think they're also making it so that when they do add new characters, it's not going to be a kind of like a blanket cover up over the current story that would just make you jumble everything all up. So with the fact that that has been taken notice, it's very, very good. You're able to go into a game, legit have a cutscene between the dungeon, at the start and the between and at the end of the dungeon. That's awesome. Every single stage has a specific story and it helps you follow along very smoothly. They definitely did a good job making sure that that's the case. They did a good job to make sure that, okay, we're here, we're going from here to here to here to here. It's not like we're going from here to there to then back here to then up there. Like they're not doing that, and that's really good to see. I think it's to be very well written in the future. I also think that they have a lot of ideas and a lot of lore behind of what they're trying to do that they're going to implement into the game, and I just can't wait for that. Maybe they're going to take from Grand Chase Mobile. That'd be a good start, but you could definitely tell that they're trying to improve the story aspect when it comes into injecting it into the dungeons. Characters. Okay, so characters. This is something that's really cool about this game. Every single character feels unique. There's no character that kind of overlaps with each other. When you select a character, you're selecting a different personality, you're selecting a different move set. And now, if you pile even on top of that, there's classes for each character, or you can call it jobs, for each character. Now, they have three types of characters. They have MP, which is mana points, AP, ability points, and they don't change their weapons on class upgrades. These are more or less just the characters that have such an in-depth background that there's no upgrading them. It's like you're just a stronger version of who you are. Then you have the hybrid, kind of on the same point of you're just a stronger version of who you are. Maybe they're gonna change the weapons eventually, but these characters are like gods, basically. They're not, but I'm just gonna put it in a sense of they're like gods, meaning that they are already super powerful. How do you get more powerful than that other than just like upgrading the abilities? And as I said before, they're really good at just having unique personalities and unique appearances to all of them. When you're picking a character, you're picking the character that I like you. I like what you do. And in game, they have voice quotes. In game, they act a certain way. They move a certain way. You know you're selecting that character, not just that job, not just that class. If you've ever played Street Fighter, if you've ever played any real game where you have to select a character, you know the most important thing that the game needs to do is to make sure they can differentiate between each character. You don't want characters overlapping. Smash Brothers, you know when you're clicking on a character, that is a specific character with a specific moveset that just does not overlap. And in this game, there's no difference, right? If you want some goofy character, you got Amy. If you want some cocky character, you got a Sin. If you want some gunslinger bad boy, you got Rufus. And even as the jobs progress, it's the same thing. Well, you're having a different moveset, you're having a different character. Because when the characters actually advance in their jobs, they're getting older. They're not just, hey, you got a new weapon. They are getting older. So you're seeing your character basically transition from like being a teen, if that's where they started, into just being older or being more mature. And that's really cool to kind of think about. Let's talk about jobs. So jobs, in a sense, are your character gets to a certain level and then you can unlock a new weapon for them, and that will give you new skills and whatnot. Now, I'm going to briefly touch over this because there's not really much to say about jobs. Jobs in this game are basically designed to help progress the lore in a way. When you get your job, your character is getting older. When you get your job, your character is becoming more mature. Your character is not starting... Your character at the starting point when they first got introduced is way different than when your character actually gets to their fourth job and you're deeper into the dungeons. Your character acts different, your character looks different, your character feels different, and I think that's really cool. But the bright side about jobs as well is that they're really quirky. What do I mean by that? The jobs are not typical jobs. They make the jobs so different that you can't overlap them even if you wanted to. For an example, Arme, her first job, oh, she's a mage. Okay, go figure. What do you expect? She's a typical mage character. Her second job is alchemist. What is it? She throws bombs. What? She makes poison. What? She's an alchemist. Her third job is warlock. She uses a lamp and a genie comes out of it. Who thought of that? And every character has like some cool little thing to them. If they're more grounded, if they're more down to earth, like Jin, for example, he's a martial artist character. Well, then that character's job is a little bit more grounded to earth. You're using tonfas, you're using your fists, you're using a staff. Like it's just more grounded. But as I said, when we get to those little goofy characters like Amy, she eventually starts using a purse. She rides a bicycle as a skill. She's an actress she uses a mic. She uses a violin. What? And that's what's cool about this game. Those classes really, they're really speaking to the character. They're not just like, oh, we have to advance you a job. Let's kind of pour over you with something that I think would be cool. They really took the time to make the job be some sort of part of that character. Meaning that if they did have to copy and paste that type of weapon and that type of set on another character, it just wouldn't work. That's what I like about the job changes. That's what I like about the characters. They really do their best to make sure that that lore is jam-packed into those characters. Alright, next we're going to talk about dungeons. So, dungeons in this game is actually really cool. We already talked about the story that comes with those dungeons, of course, but the dungeons itself. So, when the game first started, and we're talking about the older Grand Chase, when the game first started, the dungeons were... I don't want to call it boring, because back then, what really was boring, right? Back then, we played Mario on the 64. So, compare that to now, with the Nintendo Switch and stuff. That Mario was boring. But, people are going to be like, no, it was not. Look, I'm just making a point. But, with Grand Chase, it's the same way. Like, some of these stages, they were just like, okay, I'm just going through different stages. And then they started getting to the point where they developed these stages to once again match that lore. And they started adding more rooms to the stages. They started adding like these little cool little jump stages. So that way, you know, you have like a little break in between, keep it a little fun. They have really good music. They started updating the music. They updated the visuals. The backgrounds look different. The monsters look great. And they really hardcore wanted to focus on making that dungeon experience better. And as I said, they did a good job. The monsters are different. The monsters are colorful. Every single dungeon is different. There is not an overlap. If they were like, hey, we have to smush these dungeons together, you wouldn't notice an overlap. Does that make sense? I mean, if it was like all dungeons were smashed together, you would know like, okay, checkpoint 1, checkpoint 2, checkpoint 3. They are different. And I think that is really, really important, because you don't want someone to just have to grind level up and be annoyed, right? If I have 4 level 50, well, I won't say 50, let's say 4 level 70s, right? Maybe 5 level 70s. when I level up my 6th level 70, I'm not bored. Why? Because every single map is, you can come back to a map and be like, oh yeah, I remember that map, because it's so different, because it speaks to you in a different way. Or you can be like, oh, I hate that map, because once again, it's so different and it speaks to you in a certain way. It's not like, well, I'm just running through this crap again and, you know, I'm just trying to hurry up and level and turn on some music and whatnot. It's just fun. Every dungeon has its different mechanics. Every boss has a different mechanics. And I think they even made the dungeoning harder in this game by only giving you 1 life. They give you 1 life and you can respawn if you want, but they only give you 1 life. They used to give you 3. Now they're giving you 1. And I think that's the point. I think they want dungeons to be a little bit more challenging, but not to the point where a newer player just feels overwhelmed. Every single boss fight feels different. Every single boss fight has a different mechanic. Every single boss just looks different. It doesn't ever really feel like a copy and paste of a boss on another boss. There are similar mechanics because, you know, you're gonna eventually run out of ideas. You're gonna eventually need more. Let's say like a jump mechanic, right? When it hits the ground, you have to jump. Like, that's kind of a core mechanic in this game that makes you have to jump. But the cool thing about it is if you don't jump, there's different things that can happen. You can be knocked up. You can be trapped in like some grass. Like, there's different things that can actually happen if you don't jump. That just shows you like every single dungeon is gonna have something new to you. And it's like, holy crap. Even the mobs, even like the little minions, the little ads, like those things sometimes have some things that'll throw you off and you're like, what the heck? One thing done right in this game is just diversity. Everything is diverse. Nothing is ever feeling copied and paste. Nothing is ever feeling the same. That's just not a complaint you're gonna have. You're not gonna have a complaint about that. Whether it be armor, whether it be dungeons, whether it be characters, whether it be weapons, whether it be skills, nothing looks or feels, we replicated it. When they bring something to you, it's brought with a new sort of view. Whether it's broken or not, that's a different story. It's still new. All right, so the next thing we're gonna talk about is gearing. So gearing in this game, I actually think it's a little bit too jam-packed. I think the gearing in this game doesn't really do much until later stages in the game, and we're talking about in-game level. For the most part, you can realistically just pick up whatever, put it on, and you're good. But as I said, they're kind of increasing the dungeon's difficulty, it feels. So crafting items are going to feel a lot more impactful in your dungeons than just looks. Before, it was always just looks. And like I said, they're doing a lot to like pinpoint a lot of this crazy stuff that just never worked, or this stuff that just didn't make any sense, and they're trying to make it make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, they're probably going to remove it. That goes to show they're aware of some of their stuff that's just kind of like bloating the game. If it doesn't work, get rid of it. If it does work, kind of, let's try to make it work even more. And that's where I think the crafting system is going to be a little better, because of the fact that now your gear is important. I went into a dungeon with like a little bit lower level gear. I got one shot almost by a boss. So having that crafted armor not only is going to help you because it's stronger than the gear level that you're at, it's probably even higher than the gear level that you're going to get in the next dungeon too, so you can hold on to that. And then they have something where you can make that gear just a skin. And if you really like that gear, you don't have to get rid of it. You can skin it, and you can have it cover any weapon or cover any armor. Even if you're crafting an item, you're still getting something out of it after it's done. The gear that you're getting a lot of nonsense. Your inventory gets jam-packed with just a whole bunch of nonsense. You could say, well, when I'm playing with people, we roll, and I don't get, like, we roll the dice, it's a chance thing, and I don't get gear that often. But if you run it alone, then you're gonna eventually just have a really massively full inventory. What I think they could do to make that a little bit better is they could say, okay, you have this already, we're not gonna give you another one. Solves that, right? You have this type already, we're not gonna give you another one. You don't have this character, we're not gonna give it to you. If they can do that, where you don't have this character, we're not giving it to you, or you already have one of these, we're not giving it to you. If they do that, that would solve the gearing issue a lot, and that would make it better. I do know that certain gear sometimes have different stats or different attributes to them, but once again, it gets to the point where that doesn't really matter if you start, you know, crafting items or if you start caching items. And of course, when it gets to later into the game, where that gear just doesn't even matter because you're getting a specific kind of gear and then you're enchanting that gear. So next up, let's just talk about kind of just pets and cosmetics. I'm gonna put them in the same group because it is what it is. Some pets do more damage, obviously. Some pets are just a little bit more broke in terms of PvP. Some pets give you more mana or AP back. For the most part, you're probably gonna buy a pet because you like the way it looks, or it's very good in PvP, or it's very good in PvE. That is most likely gonna be the reason why you buy a pet. As I said, excuse the footage, it is darker than normal, but that's just because this is the beta and that's not really worked out yet. I already seen the report. There's no cosmetics that's just overlapping. It's diverse. You can be a pirate if you want. You can have your hair change. And of course, they update this and they're gonna put more outfits and they're gonna give you more Cordy. And even if it's not and you're doing gacha, for those armor sets and whatnot, it's diverse. It's not the same. The pets are different. Diversity is just something that Grandchase is just very good at. And that's once again a reason why people keep coming back, a reason why people don't mind playing it over and over, a reason why people don't mind playing this, leveling up, and then going to their game on launch and leveling that up again. Because it's different. It's not the same. It feels different every single time, depending on your character. Like, it's just different. The last thing we're going to talk about here is going to be PvP. Okay, so coming from a player that played old Grandchase, the player that really like mastered PvP in a sense, a player that knew the ins and outs of PvP, knew the ins and outs of some of these classes, like, it's very easy for me to deal with a lot of the problems that are happening right now. And it's probably going to be prevalent even after the game launches when there's more characters. If you're ranged, you're probably going to automatically win. The other thing is that if you have better skills or job, you're probably automatically going to win. Why? Because the things that are better are usually harder to deal with, which means that if you're a new player, you're not going to know how to deal with that. Let me put it in perspective here. If you have a better class or if you're ranged, you can do one of these two things. You can run away and wait until a skill comes up that's really strong and just use it and kill the person. Or you're just going to run away and spam. You're going to run away, spam, throw stuff, and they have to come get you. If they don't come get you, they're just going to use an ability across the map and just kill you. That's what you're going to do if you're ranged with good skills. If you're a melee with good skills, what are you going to do? You're going to run around and you're going to wait for your bar, you're going to come close, and then you're going to hit the person. That's generally what the game's PvP feels like right now. I wait for my skills to come up, and then I come at you, or I just sit far away and throw a whole bunch of stuff at you, and you just got to deal with it. And like I said, for a player that has dealt with it before, it's not a problem. I could beat that. I know the ins and outs of kind of how to deal with that. But if you're a new player, especially against an experienced player that's good at spamming, then you're gonna have problems. Now there's all this in-depth stuff like Shadow Step, Flash Step, Demon Step, autos where you can like jump through platforms and like do your ability. Like, there's a lot of cool niche things in this game that helps you deal with that. But once again, you know, when you're looking at a review, you're a new player. You're not looking at a review as an older player. I mean, you might be just for the content, but for the most part, you know, when you're new, that's why you're looking at reviews to see like if I even want to play the game. If you're gonna be looking to PvP, just know it's gonna be very hard to get into. It's gonna be very frustrating to deal with, and that's something that just kind of comes with the game. I feel like they need to do a better job at balancing PvP, or like making sure that if you are new, you're like in different brackets. And of course, with the thing with the brackets, it's a little bit harder because of the population of the servers. So hopefully what they're gonna do is combine them all into one. They probably won't. The cool thing about the servers though is that if I want a dungeon and I don't have anybody on my server, I can just hop to another one. World dungeon, it's pretty seamless. There's really no lag. Even though the host is whoever created the room, there's no lag for them really, for the people that aren't hosting it. And the same thing for PvP. Now PvP has its natural delay that you would just have on an online game, don't get me wrong, but it isn't massive. You can play with it. So like if you want to swap for PvP, you can as well, and you're probably not going to feel too bad about it, and it's probably not going to be that much of a pain. I remember when the early access first started and I went into PvP on Asia's server, and the PvP was unbearable, especially versus range. I just couldn't touch them. It was very delayed. It was, even if I touched it, wouldn't register, and once again they would just run around and use abilities. Then trying it recently, the connection was more stable, and I was actually able to catch these range characters, and I was actually able to like get these grabs going off. So I definitely think that was probably just a server issue, and I think they are trying to do their best to make it so that every server can kind of play with each other, and it allows for just a more seamless experience when it comes to dungeons and PvP. If you're going to go play PvP and you're going to be new to it, range is probably going to just automatically beat you, because the way that they play, you have to be experienced to even deal with it. And B, there's going to be skills where people just kind of run around and just shoot it at you, and then you're gonna run around again. And it's just gonna be a very big game of cat and mouse until you become experienced on how to deal with that and the ways to approach situations like that. They need to lower the entry level by making it so that every character has a way to specifically deal with something with ease. And then the more experienced players obviously can take advantage of that. So as an example, Ellis's has a berserk. What does that berserk do? Well, if you get shot with an arrow too many times, she's just gonna like go berserk, and it's gonna knock the player up, and that person's gonna take damage. Cool. That's just a very iffy mechanic, and there's a lot of mechanics kind of like that, but it's very iffy and it's not balanced well. And I think if they just balance that well, PvP would be just so much better. Is this game really worth stressing out about that I can't get into the beta? I really want to play. I'm a new player and I want to play. I can't get into the beta. I don't think it really is. I think there's a lot of sugar on top of the game. I love the game, don't get me wrong, but I think it's just getting blown out of the water of like how much you want to play. When the game comes out, is it worth trying? Sure. In beta, is it worth trying? Sure, if you can get in, but I just don't think it's something to stress about. I don't think it's something to be sad about. And as far as when the game launches, try it out. You might like it. If you're not a side-scroller player, like if you aren't playing things like MapleStory, Elsword, Latel, I can't think of anything else, but if you're just not like a side-scroller player, you're probably not going to like Grand Chase. PvP-wise, if you don't like fighting games, you're not going to like PvP, especially because it's very stressful and it's annoying. You could play 2v2, 3v3s, but once it's still annoying. And it's more on the sense of like Smash Brothers mixed with like Tekken, maybe, where, not Tekken, Street Fighter, where that's kind of how you're going to play that PvP. Either you're really strong and you're on top and you can just spam skills and just explode people, or you're at the bottom and you're struggling and you just don't want to play. And then as far as dungeons go, like I said, once again, if you're like that side scroller player, dungeon fighter, things like that, where you really just don't mind the grind of getting to a higher level and you just like being able to just have that simple way of leveling up, then this game's for you too. If you're looking for anything outside of those parameters, you're probably not going to like this game. I'm telling you that right now. So don't stress yourself out if you're a new player and you haven't got to play the beta. You're not missing out on much. Trust me. It's a lot of bugs. It's a lot of things that needs to be fixed, and that's what the beta's for. When the game launches, I think it's definitely worth a try because it's free. But once again, just don't expect too much. I think the name of the game here is don't expect more than what you're given, because you'll be let down. Go in with the thought of like it's basically another MapleStory, it's another Grand Chase, I mean not Grand Chase, I'm sorry, it's another Elsword, it's another Latel, it's another Dungeon Fighter. That's pretty much what it is. It's a side-scrolling MMO that has PvP aspects and PvE aspects, and then a whole bunch of cosmetics and classes and characters. It's pretty much what it is, to the root. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did enjoy it, thumbs up. If you guys didn't enjoy it, thumbs down. This is just my personal review. As I said, reviews are just opinion based. No matter what review, IGN, GameSpot, Game Informer, whatever you're looking at for reviews, they're all opinion made because that person is giving their first impression review on that game. Now, when we're talking about core mechanics, it's a little different because it's in plain sight, right? Like delay, like that's just there. No matter what, that's not an opinion. That's just there. So just remember that. I love the game. I played it for so many years, and that's why I felt just confident enough to just make a review like this. So thank you guys for watching. Until next time, you always say thank you for what? Poppin' Austin. We're locked.